here. Today I'm going to talk to you about the different orchestra accessories that you might need for your instrument. That includes violin, viola, cello, and bass. I'm going to go over it all, which ones are really needed, and which ones are just luxurious. So to start, I'm going to talk about shoulder rests. We sell the Everest brand here. They come in all sorts of colors. This is just a few of the options. They also come in these nice ones where the end of them collapse in, making it easy to store them in your case. A lot of people get shoulder rest and chin rest confused. I'm going to kind of go over that so you know which one is which, and are they needed or are they just luxurious? So this one right here is a chin rest. Obviously, that's where you set your chin. The accessory that comes off is called the shoulder rest. This one, in my opinion, as a violinist and fiddle player for the last 17 years, this is needed. I wouldn't say this is luxurious. I would say this is very necessary to have in order to play your instrument. The reason being, without it, you've got the very uncomfortable wood hitting your shoulder, your collarbone. It's not very comfortable to hold. You really have to hold on to it tight with your chin, and it doesn't stay. It just kind of slides down. If you have the shoulder rest, it stays no problem. You can hold it easily without holding it with your arm. And you've got this nice padding. So I recommend it to anyone who comes and rents a violin or a viola from us, because it really makes it more comfortable, especially if you're just beginning and you're not used to holding it. This is going to make life way easier. The next item I'm going to talk about is a slipstop or a rock stop. They're called both, so you'll hear both terms. It's for a cello or a bass. You can use it for both. This is where you put your end pin. So when you're playing, you're sitting in your chair, and you've got the cello or the bass on the floor. It's not going to slide all over the place. So I would say this is a necessity as well. I wouldn't say this is a luxury. I would say this is a necessity, so it's not going to be sliding all over the stage or wherever you are. So the next item I'm going to talk about is rosin. So I did a previous video, and you can find the link right there on this video, where I go into a lot of details about rosin. It has a lot of interesting facts. I would watch it. So rosin is a necessity. It's not a luxury. Without it, you cannot play your instrument, whether that be violin, viola, cello, or bass. All of them need it. That is because the rosin is what coats the hairs on the bow and makes the sound that you hear on the instrument. There is a difference between violin, viola, cello rosin that can be used for all three versus bass rosin. And the reason for that is because the bass, since it has such a deep, rich sound compared to the other three instruments, it needs to have a softer, stickier rosin. So for the increased friction, that is why it is stickier. Okay, I'm going to talk about the first luxury accessory. This is not a necessity. This is called a Rosin Guard. This will protect your rosin so that if you drop it, it won't shatter as easily. So this absorbs the shock waves when you drop it so that it doesn't break or shatter. It's really nice to have, especially if you're clumsy like me. I drop my rosin all the time. I've shattered so many rosins, it's not even funny. But this will help protect it. So you don't have to have it, but if you want to protect your rosin just a little bit more than just throwing it in your case, I would get it. The next accessory that I have in my hands, these are called mutes. This one is a little 2-string violin performance mute. This is the practice mute. I'll tell you the difference in a second. This one is a bass practice mute. It's huge. This one is a cello 2-string performance mute. So the difference between a practice mute and a performance mute should be very self-explanatory. This one you use while you perform. You can put it on your instrument in the middle of a song if it tells you to use your mute. It just makes the tone a little bit dampened. Practice mute, you use it to practice. If you're staying in a hotel and you've got your instrument and you need to practice, you can put this on. It really dampens the sound a whole bunch. It doesn't sound pretty, so I wouldn't use it when you're performing. It doesn't sound the best. But if you're trying not to disturb people while you are practicing, whether at home, traveling, whatever, I would get one of these practice mutes. Now these are not a necessity. They're kind of more of a luxury, I would say. But there are some orchestra pieces where if you're playing with a symphony, some of them will tell you that you need to have it. So this one's kind of iffy on whether it's a necessity or a luxury, but I say personally it's more of a luxury. So the next item I'm going to talk about is called finger tapes. It's hard to tell because the tapes are black on this instrument against the black fingerboard, but if you can see it reflecting, we've got 4 tapes right here. This, I personally think, is more of a luxury than a necessity. I think people would argue with that, but I started learning the instrument when I was 10, and my teacher said no tapes. I had to learn without them, and I learned just fine. It was trickier without the tapes, but you can do it. So I say that these are more of a luxury. They make it easier to figure out where you place your fingers, and we do sell them here. You can get these little packs. You just place it. It tells you where to place it on the instrument, and it will have your finger placements with the tape. The next item I'm going to talk about is called a comfort rest. This one is definitely a luxury. This one you set on the chin rest, and so you've got this soft padding on your chin. Almost no one uses these, but if you really want to have a soft pad on your chin, I understand, you know, it gets uncomfy sometimes, but you don't need it to play. The next item I'm going to talk about is this cleaner and polish. I say that these are more of a luxury, but they really do help keep your instrument preserved for longer. So you can use this to clean fingerprints and sticky gunk off of your instrument. No matter how many times you think you've washed your hands before you play your instrument, it does get fingerprints, trust me. The polish helps keep it shiny, looking newer for longer. So you don't necessarily need these in order to play. They're not going to change the sound, but they will change the look of your instrument. I would say they are a luxury, but a very awesome luxury to have. The next item I'm going to talk about is a polishing cloth. So this one is more of a necessity in my opinion, because you can wipe the rosin off when you're done playing. If you leave your rosin coated onto your instrument for too long, it will start to take away the varnish. So this is more of a necessity. If you want to keep your instrument lasting longer, I would get one of these. Okay, this next item is called a humidifier. So this one really, I think it depends on how you store your instrument, whether it's going to be a necessity or a luxury. So if you keep it in its case when you're done practicing every single time, and this is more of a luxury, just more of a precaution, I guess. If you keep it stored on your wall, on a hook, or on a stand on your floor, I would really consider this a necessity, because especially if you live here, where booth music is located in Utah, it's really dry, and you want to keep your instrument at between 40 and 50% humidity at all times to prevent cracking. So this one depends on how you store your instrument when you're done, whether it's a necessity or a luxury. But we sell these at booth if you are interested. And the last item I'm going to talk to you about today, the last orchestra accessory, I would say is very much a necessity, is a tuner. So this is a tuner specifically for violins. I believe it should work for violas as well. This one is a universal tuner. I recommend this one because you can use it with tons of different instruments. So if you play more than just an orchestra instrument, you play guitar as well or something, it'll work for all the instruments. We do have both of these tuners here at booth. You can't really play your instrument unless it's in tune, so this is a necessity. So those are all the orchestra accessories that we have here at booth that I consider either a luxury or a necessity. Let us know what you think in the comments about what you would like to see next in an orchestra related video. Hope you enjoyed this one. Oh, okay. Yeah, I was trying to think of like something to get them to interact and I couldn't think of something, but that's really good. So those are all the orchestra instruments that we have here at booth that I consider either those are all the orchestra accessories okay, one more time. Then we'll be done. It's always the outro.